Let it all the way out. And fill up and buckle up. You can grab a seat. Go ahead and grab a seat. I think you got to give him a huge hand. He did Brian Byro's title without messing up. That's pretty good. So we are going to have the best time ever. I'm so excited to give you everything I've got. I love this industry. I've had that chance to be around you for the last couple of days, and it's just incredible people. So buckle up and get ready. This is going to be the most lively, vibrant, alive, real session you've ever been in. It'll be the most transformational experience you've ever had indoors. But before I get going, I got to do the most important thing of all. In fact, I think it's the most important thing we do every day. And if we ever miss a day of doing this seemingly small thing, we've left that day incomplete. And that is to say thank you. The team that puts this on, I've been around for 2 days. You have no idea how hard they work. You have no idea how much they care about your success. So I want a special shout out to my 2 key contacts, Leslie Ackley and especially Paola Vaughn. But I want you to give a huge LV, a giant ovation to the team that put this on for you right now. A real hand, come on, a real hand. And make sure you put this on your list before you leave Las Vegas to stop and say thank you personally to at least one of those team members, because it means the world to them. So, I love that I'm called America's Breakthrough Speaker, because we're going to learn a lot about breakthroughs. But my time with you today is about the single most important ingredient in the future of LifeVantage. It's also the most important ingredient you bring to your business. It's also the most important ingredient you'll ever bring to your family, to your health, to your spirit, to your life. My time with you today is 100% about you. And it's about you seeing yourself with brand new eyes for who you actually are. Seeing yourself as a breakthrough leader. Now, who in this room is a leader? Now, if you're breathing, raise your hand, for goodness sakes. Because what is leadership? Leadership is nothing more than making decisions. Every decision you make is an act of personal leadership. How do you show up every day? That's a big part of your leadership. How do you deal with challenge, with change, with adversity? That's leadership. Most important of all in this industry, what kind of impact do you have on people? Do you lift them up? Do you fill them with joy? Do you inspire them? You are already a leader. You need to know that. But by the time we finish our time together today, you're going to know yourself to be a future-ready leader, a breakthrough leader. And I have had a passion for breakthrough leadership. It's been my passion for 50 years, through 3 really wonderful careers. My first career, I was a United States swimming coach. I was working with young athletes to rise to the potential in their sport, to the top level. But I was really coaching people. Then I went in my corporate career. I ended up being an executive in 2 really large companies, doing as you've done here at LifeVantage, building a breakthrough culture, leading to breakthrough results. But for the last 36 years, I've been doing this work I love with every ounce of my heart and soul, as a speaker and an author, having had the opportunity to speak in front of more than 1 million people around the world, trying to help each and every one of you break through. And over that time, we've learned the secrets of breakthrough. How do you break through with your teenagers so they make great choices? How do you break through with that person you know has what it takes to be incredible in this business, but they're afraid? How do you break through and become easy to impress, but hard to offend? And by the time we finish today, you're going to know a very simple, I believe in the KISS principle, keep it simple, superstar. All right, a simple formula that will create breakthroughs as you've never done before. All right, but I want to do more than that. Because long ago I learned something that you know by trying to build your business. And that is when we hear, we forget. When we see, we're more likely to remember. But it's really only when we do that we understand. So I want to just talk about breakthroughs today. I want you, by the time we finish, to take the breakthrough formula you're going to learn and apply it in a way that you will never forget. I want you to be a breakthrough leader before you go to lunch today. I want you to create for yourself a breakthrough that you'll treasure, that you will walk out of this room and carry with you, a breakthrough that will cause you to apply everything we're about to learn. And that's what's going to happen. Because the last thing we're going to do today is every one of you in this room, every one of you breakthrough leaders, is going to break through a 1-inch thick board karate style. Yeah, some people are going, yeah! A couple of people are going, oh, I almost forgot, I have a Zoom call right now. Let me get on that Zoom call. Now, the first thing you need to know is you don't have to do it. No one's going to force you, push you, cajole you. All right? It's a matter of choice. But know this. Every breakthrough you will ever have or ever have had is a matter of choice. In fact, it's a matter of a new choice. Because if you choose what you've always chosen, you'll just keep getting what you've always gotten. So you don't have to break your board, it's a choice. And it's not just for the fun of it, though it'll be the most fun you've ever had indoors. This place is going to be shaking. This strip is going to be moving with your cheering and support. But it happens to represent something much more important. It happens to represent a breakthrough metaphor that's incredibly accurate. Because the way you're going to break your board today is the way you must break through if you're going to build an incredible business. It's the way you're going to break through any obstacle. Suppose your whole life, your greatest fear, bar none, is public speaking. That you would rather have 5 root canals without Novocaine than ever get up on front of those kind of people. How do you overcome a fear that's so intense? It's the way you're going to break your board. Suppose you want to get more fit, you want to lose some weight, you want to feel more energy. I lost 29 pounds 16 years ago, haven't found it since. Right? How do you do it? The same way you're going to break your board. And your board represents that fundamental, inescapable element you're going to have to challenge and face up to if you're going to break through. The board represents a limit, fear, obstacle, habit, or doubt. That today is the day you're ready to say once and forever, never again will I let this hurt my children. Never again will I let my fear make me feel I'm just not good enough. So though you don't have to break your board, how many in this room have at least something in your life? Some limit, fear, obstacle, habit, doubt. Incidentally, it could be something you're really good at. But you feel that you plateaued, you're on a treadmill, you stop moving. How many have at least something in your life, you know, right in your heart, if you could just break through it once and for all? So many things in your business, so many things in your relationships, so many things in your energy and your spirit, so many things in you would begin to rise. How many people in this room, and I want to see the hands on this one, have at least something in your life you want to get better at? Let me just check it out here. Cool, I don't see any aliens. Okay, that's what you're going to break through today. Now, I don't break boards anymore, I just hold them. It's so much fun to hold them. But the last time I broke a board in the way that all of you are doing it today was 37 years ago. And that day the instructor had us do the same thing I'm going to have all of you do shortly. Had us write across our board what our obstacle was. Well, I knew mine right away. I wrote it across my board in great big letters. It was one word. It was the word procrastination. Ooh, I see a bunch of people going, that's the one. All right. Let me give you all a breakthrough leadership tip. The best thing to do about procrastination, put it off. Anyways, mine was specific procrastination. It was procrastination about writing books. My whole life, my dream was to write books. But I always found a way to put my dream off. I'll write my books when the kids are older. I'll write my book when I've saved up some money, when I got some time. What's the only reason I didn't write my book? What was underneath that procrastination, jamming it in my face every single day? What was it? Fear. You want to know the truth? We're going to have 1,000 breakthroughs today that will be unforgettable. All right? Because they'll all be the same in its foundation. Because there is only one breakthrough. You break through from fear to love and faith. That's it. And every time you choose fear, you know it. It weighs you down. It closes your throat. And every time you choose love and faith, you are like my grandchildren who know that anything is possible. It was fear. The same thing, I don't care who you are, when you stand in front of this board today, you're going to feel some fear. I don't know if I can do it. I've never done it before. What if I can't? Isn't that the same thing that gets in our way of our big vision? Right? The things we really want. What if I'm not good enough? What if I look embarrassed, like I'm embarrassed, if I look bad? What if I'm the only one? It was fear. But that day when I had the same window of opportunity you're all going to have today, my board transformed before my eyes. To me, it was no longer a piece of wood. It was everything that was keeping me from living my dream and writing my book. And I got to tell you, when I broke that board that day, it felt good. In fact, it felt like a piece of paper. I promise, every single one of you 1,000 plus people here, when you break your board today, it is going to feel like a piece of paper. If you don't break it, it'll feel an awful lot like a board. truth is true. When I broke it, it felt really good. But the best part was, 31 days to the day that I broke my first board, I finished the first chapter of my first book, this book, Beyond Success. And I didn't stop writing this book for 18 months until it was done. And that book, 9 years after I started it, see, never give up on your breakthroughs. 9 years after I started it, climbed as high as number 16 on Amazon from 2 million titles. Since that time, I've written 15 other books. My most recent book actually hit number 1 on Amazon for probably 3 minutes. Yeah. But it's made an awesome difference for my family. It's an awesome difference for my career. It made an awesome difference for my spirit. But the best part about your breakthroughs today, because you chose to be a leader at LifeVantage, your choices today, your breakthroughs today could be 1 trillion times richer for your family, for your career, for all the people on your team, and for you. And breakthroughs are incredibly fun, and they all start the same way. They start by shaping your future. All breakthroughs start by shaping your future. All right? And so we're going to start, and that means they start with vision. So we're going to start with vision. So I need everybody to stand up if you would. All right? If you can stand up, great. If you can't stand up, that's fine too. So first, everybody just kind of loosen up a little bit. All right? Move that breakfast around, those 4 cups of coffee. Move it around and relax. And hands by your side. And the first principle of breakthrough vision is so simple that we miss it. And what it says is, vision becomes reality. Everybody say that. Vision becomes reality. Now we could have a debate about that. We could raise pros, we could raise cons. I just want to give you all a real experience right here, right now in this room of how vision becomes reality relates to a real breakthrough through a real life obstacle. So first, just watch. I'm going to demonstrate something. After I demonstrate it, then I'm going to have you all do it. So in a second, I'm going to have you raise your right arm up to shoulder height and point your index finger. Not yet, but I love your enthusiasm, all right? Now, the reason you're going to point your index finger is, it's eventually going to be a visual marker. So when I ask you to, I'm going to have you turn clockwise. So to your right, at shoulder height, and go as far as you can until you get stuck. So it'll look just like this. You'll turn, 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 and I'm just beyond the E in LifeVantage. I mark the spot, got it, come right back around the center, arm straight out in front, and drop my arm. Okay, everybody raise your right arm, point your index finger. Now I realize that we are in very close proximity to our neighbor. So as you go by your neighbor, you may hinge at the elbow. No bopping your neighbor necessary. And everybody turn to your right. You turn, 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 turn. Mark the spot. Got it. Come right back around the center. Arm straight out in front. Drop your arm. Close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, I'm going to have you do the same thing I used to do with my swimmers before their big races. I'm going to have you visualize. I'm going to have you envision or pretend that you're doing what you just did. But this time you will not physically do it. You'll just see it in your mind. So with your eyes closed in your mind only, see yourself or pretend as if you're raising up that right arm and pointing that index finger again. And now with your eyes closed in your mind only, see yourself or pretend as if you're turning again to your right. You turn, 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 turn. You get to the place where you're actually stuck, but you go right past it a whole foot further. You see it? Yeah, and in your mind, turn it back, 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 all that way to center. And in your mind, drop your arm. Okay, take a nice deep breath in. Let it all the way out. Close your eyes. We're going to pretend just one more time. So with your eyes closed in your mind only, see yourself and pretend as if you're raising up that right arm and pointing that index finger again. And now with your eyes closed in your mind only, see yourself or pretend as if you're turning again to your right. You turn, 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 turn. You get to the place where you're actually stuck. You go by it so easily, you can hardly believe it. You get to that next place a foot beyond that, but you don't stop there this time. You go 2 more feet beyond that. You are 3 feet beyond where you were completely stuck. You see it? Yeah, and in your mind, turn it back, 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 all that long way to center. And in your mind, drop your arm. Okay, open up your eyes. Lift up your right arm, point your index finger. Give her a whirl. See what happens. Go for it.
Wow.
So here's where you get to be rowdy, LifeVantage superstar.
Wow.
Everyone, we're going to hold it. Wow. Now, with your next team meeting, your next recruiting session. Come on, baby, we're spinning. All right, so let me see the hands. Everybody went a whole bunch further. Isn't that cool? So I have a question for you, important question. How does that work? And I got an answer for you because we're on a schedule here. I don't know how it works, all right? I don't know enough about physiology to tell you everything. I know a few things, but I do know this, and this is where your breakthroughs must start. What was the first and foremost thing that you changed between the first time you did it and the last time you did it? You could call it a belief, you could call it optimism, you could call it a lot of things, but what you changed in a practical sense was, you changed your vision. You reset your visual GPS. You set for yourself a more exciting new destination. And here's the part that really rocks. And this is why there is not one overachiever in this room. You are not an overachiever. You have more breakthroughs in you than you ever dreamed of. Right? Because think about it. You could have gone as far in the first place as you did in the last place. You simply didn't see it. In other words, not one of us got a new body between the first time we did it and the last time we did it. It was already in you to go that far. You just didn't see yourself going that far. Now, though I don't know all the things that you did physically to go to that new destination, I do know this. If you leave this session before you go to lunch today with any worthwhile new GPS destination in your life, you just say, I am going to overcome every roadblock I've ever had to be a great recruiter. Leave here and say, I'm going to be a more loving mother or father. Leave here and say, I'm going to get in better physical shape so I'm more active than I've ever been. I'm going to be a kinder person. Though I don't know all the things you'll do to get to that destination, I do know this: if you don't start by doing exactly what you just did, by resetting your visual destination from where you see yourself now to where you want to get to, you won't begin the journey that we're going on together today. I call the distance from where you stopped and you thought, that's as far as I can go, to where you ended up. That is your breakthrough. And it must begin with your breakthrough vision. You've got to have a bigger vision. And it brings us to our first, what I call, vision key. We're going to only end up with 3 of these. And a vision key is an area of PR. To me, PR does not mean public relations. It means personal responsibility. If it's to be, it's up to me. Another name for that is an area of choice. And a vision key is an area of PR to do in that area what you just did in this fun activity. You say, well, here's as far as I've been going, but here's where I'm getting to. And the first one from which every breakthrough must begin is what you just experienced. And what it says is, what you focus on is what you create. What you focus on is what you create. Now, this is sometimes we call the law of attraction. But I'm just a simple guy. Since what you focus on is what you create, here is an incredibly important question to ask yourself right now and every day of your life you want to break through. You go ahead and grab a seat. And the question is, what am I focusing on? What am I focusing on? How many of us focus more on worrying about what will go wrong than creating what we want to go right? How many of us are focusing more on the people, the situations, the stuff in our life that upsets us, angers us, disappoints us, instead of the things that bring us joy? How many of us have been living our life focusing on the board instead of the breakthrough? Whichever way you focus on is what you focus on is what you create. So if you want to be that breakthrough leader who begins to ignite more and more breakthroughs, first in yourself and then to others, the starting place is simple. Shift your focus from what you don't want to what you do want. Make sense? Mm-hmm. All right, so all breakthroughs start in our simple formula with vision. So what must we focus on to ignite more breakthroughs, especially in this business, but in everywhere in our life, in our kids, in our health, in our life? And that brings us to our second vision key, all right, our second controllable. And anytime I say the word vision key, just remember what you just did. You went as far as you thought you could, and then what did I say? That ain't good enough anymore. Let's reset it. And the second controllable is to energize and engage your team. To energize and engage your team. All right, but before you can energize and engage your team, who must you energize and engage? Starts on the inside, moves to the outside. And so the vision key, and be honest with yourself, when we talk about this, say, where have I been? Where am I going? The vision key for breakthrough energy, because we don't want just ordinary energy, says I live with extraordinary E-power. And the fun word there is extraordinary. You don't want ordinary. You wouldn't be here if you wanted ordinary. You want an extraordinary business. You want to have extraordinary relationships. You want to have extraordinary health. And the rule of the game to live with extraordinary power is to play full out. And E stands for energy. Now, why is your energy so crucial to your breakthroughs and your breakthrough leadership? Well, there are two fundamental reasons. The first allows me to introduce you to my favorite word. Now, what will be a day in the life of a life-managed person without another acronym or abbreviation? So why is energy so important? The first reason is it's all about the WOO, which is called the woo, which incidentally, really fun to say. So on three, everybody say woo. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Say it again. Woo. Anybody got the did this morning? You say woo. I like the woo. Now, woo stands for something. Woo stands for window of opportunity. The woo is the window of opportunity. I want to suggest that everyone in this room shares the most perfect, most magical, most vital of all woos right here, right now. And you know what it is? It's every precious moment. Every precious moment is a woo. What do I mean? Well, you never know if the next person you'll meet at this event today may become your lifelong friend, as you didn't know when you met your lifelong friends. You never know if the next person you see walk into your room ends up being the greatest business builder you ever brought into your team. And you never know if the breakthrough you're going to create for yourself today as you fly through your board, if it may change the whole trajectory of your life, your business, and your joy. See, the question to every one of you in this room is not, is there a woo? There is. The question you got to ask yourself to begin the breakthrough is a tough question. How many of those puppies have you missed? How many windows of opportunity have you missed in the last month alone with the very people you love the most? And why do we miss them? Well, the first reason why energy is so vitally important to breakthroughs is energy helps you seize more woos. Simple as that. You ever notice when you have more energy how much more alert you are to solution? When you have energy, adversity doesn't seem so adverse. You see, within every adversity is planted the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. In other words, isn't it true that the toughest challenges you ever made your way through were the very ones from which you grew the most? When you have energy, you look for that seed of possibility. When you don't have energy, you get knocked out cold by the adversity. So the first reason why energy is so important is energy helps you seize more woos. Second reason, and if you get this, you've got an incredible opportunity to break through. Why is your energy so crucial to your breakthrough leadership? Well, here's why. To your children, no matter their ages, for as long as you draw breath. To every prospect and every team member in your LifeVantage business. To anyone on this earth that you genuinely care about. Please hear this. Your energy is your example. Your energy is your example. People won't remember that much of what you say, no matter how well you say it. And they'll never forget your energy. They get your energy before you've opened your mouth. They get your energy after you've closed your mouth. They get your energy over the phone. They haven't even seen your face yet. They get your energy the way you send email. Email doesn't stand for electronic mail. Stands for energy mail, for goodness sakes. To everyone we touch, our energy is our example. So if you want to be that breakthrough leader who ignites greater and greater energy in everyone around you, starting with yourself, you must learn how to elevate your own energy by choice instead of chance in every precious woo. So how do we do that? Well, again, simple as power. And I found this is what changed my life. The simplest and yet the most powerful way to elevate your energy starts with a simple idea. Create for yourself a simple 10-point energy scale. How can you improve something if you don't measure it? So on our 10-point energy scale, 1 is comatose. 10 is a child on Christmas morning. 10 is the way you feel when you just broke through in your LifeVantage business to your dream. 10 is the way every one of you is going to feel this morning when you break your board. And 11 is the way you're going to feel when somebody else breaks their board. So now that we've set up that little context, I'm going to ask you what I call the $1 trillion question. For some people, this is the most important question you've ever been asked. It is a life-changing, business-changing, family-changing, health-changing, you-changing question. When you think about that 10-point energy scale from 1 to 10, where are you living your life? Woo, that's a good question. Are you living at level 6, level 7? I don't know where you're living. You do. But unless your answer to that $1 trillion question was 99.9, the next question is that breakthrough question, the action question. How can you elevate that number? Because suppose when I asked you, where are you living on the 10-point scale? Your gut answer right away was, I'm living at 6.5. What is that 6.5? That 6.5 is nothing more than your E-habit that has become your E-comfort zone. All right? And it's actually, unless it's high enough, it's your E-confinement zone. Change that number, change your life. And that's why your energy is a choice, because there are two foundational, powerful ways you can, from this moment forward, elevate your energy by choice and chance instead of chance and every precious woo. And the first is so simple that we miss it. And from this point forward, know that your energy is created by your level of purpose. Purpose. Whenever you're full of purpose, you're full of energy. Have you ever noticed when you get to do what you love to do, energy is no problem. It doesn't matter how much sleep you have, what's been on your mind, all right? You are unstoppable. But have you ever noticed what happens to your energy when you kind of lose sight of your purpose? It's like somebody puts a big old pin in that balloon. Now, I don't know what it is for you, but I sure as heck know what it is for me. And I bring this photo with me to every event in which I speak. It is a photo of my purpose. It is my family. I love them more than life itself. And as beautiful as these people are, I have it in hard copy right here too. As beautiful as these people are, I don't bring this photo with me to show you. I bring this photo with me to show me. That's why I bring it. And the last thing I do before I speak, as I did right out there, is I go to my purpose, and I totally fill up with it. I think about how much I adore them. I think about how much I want to do for them, be for them, give to them, and whatever time I'm blessed to have left in this life. And the instant that I fill up with that kind of purpose, something magical happens. And I promise it'll happen to every one of you, no matter what your purpose is. You know what it is? It changes me. It instantly changes me. No longer does it matter if my knees are sore, my back hurts a little bit. No longer does it matter if somebody cut me off in traffic. No longer matters how long my flights were delayed. All that matters when I get filled with my purpose is that if I don't give every one of you in this room the very best I have to give in this moment, since I dedicate everything to them, that means I'm not giving them my best, and I won't do that. So how can you bring purpose into your life in a simple way that you can practice every day? You want to change your energy? Here's what you do. For the next 30 days, make a commitment that every morning you start with one question. If you jump in the shower in the first 5 minutes every morning, type this question out in big letters, laminate it, put it in the shower. Ask yourself, what am I truly grateful about today? What am I truly grateful about today? What you're grateful about, right, has a secret in it, especially if you're not really big on spelling. What you're grateful about has within the capacity, the power when you focus on it to make you grateful. What you're grateful about will focus you on your priorities. Your priorities are the only pathway that will lead you to purpose. So today when I asked you, where are you living on that 10-point scale, your gut answer was 6.5. If over the next 30 days you commit to starting with gratitude, leading to priorities, leading to purpose, you'll move from 6.5 to 7.5 to 8.5. And everything that matters to you in your life and your business will rise with it. But there's one last key to breakthrough energy. And for many people, especially in this industry, this is the tough one. I've been talking about energy in my events for 36 years. And every so often, I've had somebody come up to me, and I know they're talking about way more than themselves. They come up to me and say, Brian, I have a lot of energy, except when I get around him. I have this one person in my life who just sucks the energy right out of me. Whenever I get excited, they bring me back down. Whenever I start thinking of all the reasons I'm going to do it, they show me all the reasons I never will be able to. They are my energy vampire. And I always say the same thing to these people. I never say it to be cruel or harsh. I say it to set them free. If you have anyone in your life who kind of fits that description as your energy vampire, usually somebody important in your life, 2 words will change your life. Stop it. Just stop it. It's not their energy. It is not their power. From this moment forward, breakthrough Never again can anybody ever take your energy away from you, because it's not theirs unless you give them permission. And anyone can take it away when you give them that permission. Please learn this the easy way from me, who tends to learn things the hard way. Because the person I was certain was my energy vampire for a great part of my life was the same man who was my hero growing up. It was a man by the name of my father. And my dad was big and tough and quiet. He was LAPD. He was a policeman in Los Angeles. And more than anything in this world, what I wanted from as early as I can remember was just once for my big tough daddy to get down low and give me a hug. Just once to hear him say, "I'm proud of you, son." Just once to hear him say, "I love you, Brian." But my dad could not do that. You see, his mother died when he was 7 years old. And my uncle told me that when she died, it was almost as if he did. He just closed up. But I didn't know that. I was a kid. All I knew was I wanted my dad to hug me, to love me, to be proud of me. But he couldn't do it. And by the time I was 10 or 11 years old, that hunger for his approval began to manifest unconsciously as a sort of an inner drive. Hey, maybe if I'm good enough at something, maybe if I get great in sports or in school or both, maybe then I'll be good enough. Maybe then my dad will hug me. Maybe then my dad will love me. Maybe then he'll be proud of me. But he couldn't do it. And by the time I was 17 and a half, almost 18, I went off to Stanford University. And I started to say, to heck with him. I don't care. I don't need him. I got a good life. I got good friends going to a great school. I don't care. And it was a big, fat lie. He was still my hero. And maybe more than ever, I wanted him to be proud of me. But over the next 14 years, I basically ran away. I had no relationship with my father. No cards, no letters, no birthdays, no holidays, no visits. If I called up home to talk with my mom and my dad answered the phone, we had exactly the same conversation over those 14 years. He'd say, "I'll get your mother." 14 years. I'm a slow learner. But finally, after 14 years, two incredible things happened in my life that awakened me to the greatest breakthrough belief of all. That is, if things are to change, I must change. We always want to change everybody else, but change starts on the inside, moves to the outside. And the first thing that happened was, I met my wife, Carol, we fell in love, and we got married. And the best time of my life, there was a wound that opened in my heart, because my dad wasn't part of it. And then 1 year later, we gave birth to our first little girl, Kelsey, his only grandchild at the time. And he never held this beautiful little child in his arms. He never saw her in person. He never knew her. And the wound got deeper. And finally, Carol and I talked, and I said, "You know, honey, as hard as it's been in my life to be around my dad, I don't want our children to never know their grandparents." So we made the first breakthrough choice, that we would break through and go and visit them. But I made another choice that day, and this is the one you can make right here, right now, if anybody in your life who fits that description as your energy vampire. I decided that when I was around my dad for the first time ever in my life, I would be myself. I would bring my own authentic energy. You see, I had always tried to be who I thought he wanted me to be. And I thought he wanted to be just like him, tough and quiet. Man, that's not me. I'm a goofball. I mean, I cry at openings of supermarkets. I'm that bad, okay? I honestly cried at Mickey and Minnie on Ice. My daughters were 5 and 10 and they were mortified. Right. So we went to see my mother and father. And for the first time ever, I released my energy vampire. Not out of anger, because you'll never release them that way, but out of the joy in my life. And in one day of releasing that energy vampire, my life completely changed. The first thing that happened was I realized for the first time how much I loved my dad and how much he gave me. It was my dad who taught me about work ethic. It was my dad who taught me about energy. It was my dad who taught me to do the right thing when everybody was not looking. But I could never see those gifts because I was too busy being bitter to ever get better. And as I opened my eyes to how much he meant to me, I got a bigger epiphany. I saw for the first time clearly, my dad had always told me he loved me. He had always told me he was proud of me. He just couldn't say it, and he just couldn't hug me. For 18 years, this man worked 2 jobs. He worked as a police officer all night. He worked construction all day, so he'd have enough. He couldn't say, I'm proud of you, Brian, but he'd get this old dilapidated bike. And for 6 months, in the tiny amount of time the man had when he wasn't working or sleeping, he'd go off to the garage, work on that bike. So on Christmas morning, there was my red racer bike. For the first time ever, on that visit, my dad and I actually talked. I mean, really talked. And I found out all those years, I didn't even think he even knew, much less cared what I've been doing in school and sports. He was telling all the other cops. He just didn't want me to have a fat head. My 94-year-old daddy passed away on February 16th, 2025. Over the last 15 years of my mother and father's life, I was their sole caregiver. Though they lived in Lake Tahoe, California, I lived in Virginia. In the 13 months after my mother passed away, before my dad passed away, I spent more than 200 days as my dad's chauffeur, as his maid, as his cook, as his legs at the end. And any day I was not there with him, we talked on the phone. And every one of those conversations on the phone, and every one of those days we were in person together, including the last one where I held his hand and he took his last breath, they all ended the same way. They ended with me saying, I love you, Daddy. And him saying words he hadn't said in 87 years. I love you, son. Now, and we healed what I thought was unhealable. Now, am I promising you that's going to happen to you when you release your energy vampire? I can't promise that. Because you don't control anybody but you. But I can promise you this. The instant you release those energy vampires out of joy, out of peace, all right, you'll rise above 9.0. You'll become easy to impress and hard to offend. And you will have the greatest breakthrough of all. So, we learned the formula starts with vision, what you focus on, what you create. Second, got to have extraordinary e-power. The third is the last and most important. Everybody sit up at 9.0 in your seat. Not 10 because you bounce, it's distracting. But I like your enthusiasm. All right, and the last part, the last of the 3 keys and elements in our breakthrough formula comes down to what your job is. If people ask you what you do at LifeVantage, here's your job, here's my job. Our job is to help the people that we lead, that we serve, that we love, that we are, to know they're important. Because when people feel important, they rise to, oh yeah. When people feel unimportant, they fall to, oh no. All right, so how do you do that? How do you do that in the first 30 seconds with somebody you're meeting for the first time? How do you do it with people, all right, when you're going through tough times? How do you do it with people who know your tricks? Well, it comes down to the final key element that we must do in our formula. All right, breakthrough leaders build people, build teams and relationships, and there's only one way to do that at a fundamental level. Because unless you do what we're about to talk about, you will never build trust. And so that last vision key, and as I talk about it, just remember what we did. Say, well, here's where I've been, honestly, but here's where I'm going. All right? And that principle, the last vision key says, I am fully present. I am fully present. Now, what does that mean? When you're fully present, 100% of your mind, body, and spirit is with the people you're with where they are now. Now, how many have ever been with somebody where you know their body's present, but the rest of them is definitely in some other county? How many of you ever had that happen before? Yeah. So how does it make you feel when someone you wish to be fully present with you is not fully present with you? For some people, it makes them angry. But for most people, it makes them feel sad or small. But for everyone I've ever known, even the most self-confident people, when there's someone we wish to be fully present with us and they're not fully present with us, it makes us feel worth less. It makes us feel insignificant and unimportant. And here's your job, more than any, if you want to have a thriving business and a wonderful, joyous life. Your job is to help the people that you lead and serve and love to know they're important. And it all comes down to being fully present. Now, I call this the gift, because the greatest gift I've ever received in my life, I received from my 2 daughters, Kelsey and Jenna, way back when they were only 8 and 3 years old. And when they were 8 and 3, we had moved from the big city of Seattle, Washington, to a little town in the mountains of western Montana called Hamilton, Montana. All right, we got the Montanalites. And the reason we moved was so that I would be a more fully present dad. That's why we moved. You see, at that time, my speaking business had taken off. I had taken on a contract to do training and promotion for a direct sales, a network marketing company that was growing incredibly fast. I was on the road at least 20 days a month, usually more. And so we made the decision to move out of the big city and the lines and the traffic, all right? So at least on the few days each month I was home, I could be present. I could be the dad I wanted to be. I could be there on those mornings to wake the girls up, get them breakfast, take them to school, give my wife a break. I could be there on those afternoons to pick them up from school, take them to dance practice, help them with their homework. I could be there in those evenings with Carol and Kelsey and Jenna and I, all four of us, for family dinners all together. And I could be there on those nights with my wife to tuck them in, to cuddle with them, to tell them a story, to make sure the last thought they had was, I matter and I am loved. That's why we moved. But have you ever known what to do, but you don't do what you know? Well, at that time, doing a remote business was completely different than it is today. We had no cell phones, there was no text, there was hardly any email, all right? There was no Zoom or Teams or anything like that. The only way you could practically do business, if you were working in a lot of locations, and I was working with Europe, Australia, and the United States, and Canada, the only way you could do it was being on the phone, talking to people. So every morning I would hustle into my home office, 2 doors away from where my daughters were sleeping in bunk beds. I'd be in that home office by 4:30 in the morning to deal with all these time zones. Well, the next thing you know, I completely missed that window of opportunity to get them up, get them to school. Carol had done it. Same thing would happen after school. I'd be on a conference call I just couldn't get off of. Those family dinners, 75%ers. Carol, Kelsey, Jenna, I'd still be on the phone. But I was going to be present. And maybe the most special of those woos, because you know it doesn't last forever, is the one where you tuck them in at night, you cuddle with them, you make sure they know they are loved. And I was on my way to doing that every single night when I made the same massive mistake. And I walked by my office door on the way to the room. And you know what I saw sitting on my desk? I saw that darn telephone. And I knew that in the short time I'd run downstairs and come back up to get a bite to eat, I would have at least 5 new voicemails, because I heard the phone ringing. And I got this thought. It's what I call an as soon as thought. As soon as, the antithesis to presence. And I thought to myself, hey, while the girls are brushing their teeth, putting on their jammies, cleaning up, getting all their stuff ready together, I'll just pop in my office here and knock off a few of these voicemails. Then as soon as they're ready, I'll be there. I'll be the dad I want to be. Well, as I look at you right now, I know you know what happened. An hour later, I put the phone down. I completely missed that woo. Carol had tucked them in, loved them, right? And I remember so many nights walking into their bedroom in the dark, making my way to their bunk beds to give them each a kiss on the cheek they didn't even know they got. And as I walked out, I felt like somebody slugged me in the stomach. And I'd feel this remorse, and I'd say to myself things like, tomorrow I'll do better. As soon as I get caught up, I'll be the dad I want to be. But the next morning, all right, or the next afternoon, the next night, the phone was still there. And this went on for days, it rolled into weeks, it turned into months. Until one night, when I could have been and should have been tucking my girls in, I was reaching for the phone. And the only way I can describe what happened is, I felt my daughter's energy. I didn't hear them, I didn't see them, but I knew they were there. I turned my head and looked, and there they were, and they're so darn cute, I just grinned at them. And as I grinned at them, they ran to me, and little Jenna was only 3, and she dove into my lap on my desk chair and nosed my arm out of the way like a golden retriever. And I looked at these girls I love so much, I said, girls, what are you doing? This is so cool. And they said, Daddy, can we please ask you something before we go to sleep tonight? I said, girls, you can ask me anything, anytime. And they grabbed my heart, and they shook it. And they changed everything in my life. And they gave me a compelling why that has been the light I move towards every day. Because they looked at me innocently and they simply asked, Daddy, we just want to know, do you love your phone more than you love us? I felt the blade go in deep. Emerson said, what you do screams so loudly, I can't hear a word you're saying. I couldn't fake it. I was living my life as if my phone was a higher priority than my children, than my wife. Well, I want you to know I tucked him in that night. And I never missed another night after that when I was home. The next morning, it was me who woke him up, got him breakfast, took him to school, and my wife Carol was the happiest person on the planet. And she is not a morning girl. And I never missed another morning after that when I was home. That day after I dropped him at school, I made a breakthrough choice. A choice every one of you in this room can make in your own way right here, right now. A commitment to be more fully present. In my case, it meant I would never, ever, ever book more than 7 events a month. I don't care what you pay me, I won't do it. That meant that when I was home, my calendar, their events came first. And I lived it. All the years they grew up, I never missed one of their big dance performances. I never missed one of their big school events. I never missed one of those awesome daddy and daughter dances. And I thought I was doing it for them. Do you know that every dimension of our life elevated with the decision to be more fully present? You don't get less done when you're present, you get more done. Because you're there with full presence and full energy, and that's the breakthrough combination. So I like to bring this one alive with a simple poem, but it gets to the heart of it. It says, the past is history, the future a mystery. The gift is now. That's why we call it the present. Give me a woo on that one. Woo. So now, are you ready to put vision, energy, and presence together? Are you ready to break some boards? That was the most half-hearted thing I heard all day. Are you ready to break some boards? So, listen carefully. It's going to go fast. All breakthroughs start with vision. We're going to start with vision of 3 breakthrough beliefs. I've spent 50 years condensing down to these 3 fundamental breakthrough beliefs. All I ask of you is try them out to break your board. Own them for breaking your board. If they work for you to break your board, take them back to your Life Vantage business because they are not board.